Hello and welcome to Car Dealer Live. My name is James Batchelor and thank you very much for joining us for these live broadcasts on the Car Dealer Magazine YouTube channel, where we talk to people right across the industry. Now, today on the show, I'm delighted to say we have got Rachel Clift from automotive charity Ben on the show. Hello, Rachel.
Hi, James. Thank you ever so much for inviting me onto this broadcast.
No, you're more than welcome. And, Car Dealers has a long history with Ben, and it's nice to be able to get you on the show finally to actually talk to you a little bit more about the charity itself and what 2020 has in store for you. Now, as a bit of background, Rachel is the Health and Wellbeing Director for Ben, and she's been in the role for nearly 2 years now. Car Dealer Magazine readers will be very much aware of Ben, of course, with our Bangs for Ben events. And I'm sure many people have been touched by Ben in this role as the charity for the automotive industry. Now, before Ben, Rachel has had a long career in health and well-being and physiotherapy and all sorts of things like that. And she's a key pillar of Ben. So we've got lots to talk about in the next 20 or 30 minutes or so. If you've got a question, please feel free to pop it into the comments box and I'll do my best to ask it to Rachel. Okay, Rachel, well, again, thanks for coming on. Let's start with a simple question, really, or it may not actually be a simple question, but it's a good question to start off with. For those who haven't heard of Ben, what is it and how long has it been operating?
Gosh, good question to start with. So Ben is the only sort of charity that's dedicated to the automotive industry. So we support people that have worked in, that still work in, or within the automotive industry across all of the different sectors. The support we provide historically has been very much about benevolence. So when people have hit on hard times, the industry has been there for those individuals and has probably primarily focused more on sort of financial support. But we've been on a huge journey, certainly in the last couple of years that I've joined Ben, and part of my role has been very much to kind of modernise and transform our offering. And we were finding that we were supporting more people with welfare grants actually to pay for counselling and talking therapies. So mental health in particular has been a huge focus for us as a charity and the industry as a whole. So yeah, we've been transforming our offering really now to provide health and wellbeing services, to look at more support content that we provide online so people can access that free with tips, advice and tools, for people to come to us with a very different offerings. So we have a helpline where people can call and just get some generic sort of information, advice and guidance. We have a case management service where people would have more in-depth needs assessments to identify what areas of life aren't going quite so well. And then we have a mental health pathway where we would support people in a range of different ways, providing what I would consider as more informed choice about how somebody can receive support for a mental health issue. So not only do we have content available on our website, but we have a digital platform, which has got a range of different computerized CBT programs, sort of self-led programs that people can interact with, as well as still providing talking therapies and counselling, both face-to-face and more so telephone in recent times because of the sort of challenges we face around COVID-19. But essentially, we are there for to support any particular life issue that people is facing and challenging within the automotive industry.
Yeah. We'll come on to the CBT in a minute, actually. I think that's quite an interesting topic. But I suppose the thing I'd like to sort of touch upon really is that the automotive industry in particular is a very sociable industry, particularly on the trade side. And dealers and all sorts of people like to talk, they like to be part of one big family. But is it fair to say that when things go wrong and people come across hard times, the sort of the natural reaction is become quite insular and not actually want to talk to anybody? And I suppose for charities such as yourselves, you're very much saying, look, open up. We're here to talk to you. You know, we can't help everybody, obviously, but we can help a large number of people. So just talk to us and we can see what we can do for you.
Yeah, I actually think that that is a really critical part of the support that we provide. So, as much as your family and your friends play a role in helping you emotionally to manage your emotions and things that are happening in life, sometimes it's easier to talk to someone that isn't as directly involved with your life and more independently, but with real compassion and empathy. And our case managers and all of the people right from helpline through to those that are our talking therapists and counselors that we work with are all demonstrate that ability to be compassionate and to understand that from that individual's perspective. And we are all about empowering positive change. So essentially, if there is a change that someone has identified, or that there's just something not quite right with the way that someone feels in any given moment, our role really is very much to say, well, what is it that you want that to look like? And we will help them to bring about those changes. And one particular area that we do that so well in is our life coaching service, and it sits within our mental health pathway. And it's very focused on exactly that. So if there's a change that somebody would wish to see, they're not happy about something quite specific, the life coach will work with them and do home-based activities, but check in with them in a 6-week sort of program of support. So yeah, it's a really lovely part of the service that we've been developing over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Before Ben, you've obviously worked in other sectors. Do you think the issues that people face in the automotive industry are similar to other sectors? I mean, are there human instinct parallels, for example, or is the automotive industry, does it bring its own unique set of problems and challenges?
Well, I think when we look at the general kind of statistics that are out there about health and well-being issues, what I would say is that the automotive industry isn't by and large unique in the issues it's facing, but the industry itself is quite unique, and the roles that people play within that. So the pressure that people are under from a sales perspective, from a manufacturing perspective, you talk about the pressure associated with that and the productivity side of automotive as well. I think that does make the industry quite unique to predispose itself to certain issues. The other thing I think is important to remember is that we're a demographic that's highly made up of men. And although there are lots that's happening and changing in that space to increase the number of females in the industry, we still have a very male-dominated industry. And we know that the chances of a man in particular reaching out for emotional support in particular is lower than what it would be for a female. So, and I think the other thing to share with you is we deliver a critical response service for employers. And it's a service that we go out and provide emotional support for on site ordinarily. Obviously, during these times, we've had to adapt to our method of delivery. But usually we're going out to support employers where there has been some form of fatality, and 95% of those cases is where a male has taken their own life, either on the work, on site at the workplace, or away from the workplace at home, and it's the aftermath of that. Now, if that's not striking enough, the support that we offer and the role we play in preventing that from happening, I'm not sure there's anything more compelling than that, really.
Yeah. And so let's put 2020 to one side for a moment. We'll talk about that in a second. But in a normal year, what type of events, because of course you rely upon fundraising and people donating and people supporting the charity. Yeah. In a normal year, what would the year look like, and what would you be doing during the year?
Well, we'd have a number of different activities taking place in your big events like your London Marathon, invariably your Bangers for Ben, which we've made some changes to this year. We usually would have Ben Ball coming up at Christmas. We would have things like Thames Water Trek in London, a whole host of sort of fundraising events and activities that we have either been postponed, delayed, and we a couple of years ago at our Ben Ball, we launched Bring It On for Ben, which is more for individual events for people to participate in, which has been hugely successful. And the London Marathon is an example of one of those things that people can participate in. Clearly, the ability for people to train or to participate in those events just isn't there in the current climate. and we've been having to make some really tough decisions about our fundraising events this year, and some of it's still outside of our control. So I think this is going to be an exceptionally challenging year for us. From two angles. Firstly, from an income point of view of fundraising, we've got limitations as to what we have left of the year that we can and can't do. So having again to adapt, to be very versatile. But also the service demand is highly likely to grow exponentially in the next 12 months. So our ability then to support people with reduced income is just a really difficult thing for us to balance.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's going to be some very tough decisions ahead for you, really, because of course, unfortunately, and this is the problem with charities, isn't it? That you're affected by global or national events, and so are the people which you're supporting. And unfortunately, in situations like this, like you say, people have got reduced income, the situation's been taken out of their hands, and of course, as a charity, the thing you want to do is to jump in and to support those people. But if you haven't got those funds or the services at hand, it's going to be really tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we are. So our fundraising director, Matt, he's working really hard. He's so creative with his ideas. He was the kind of founder of our Bring It On for Ben eventing. So currently we're working on some virtual fundraising events, which is really exciting. And that's due to come about in August, and there'll be more that we'll be promoting around that. So I think this whole kind of virtual space, it is an opportunity for fundraising as well. We'll be relaunching Bring It On for Ben in this month, imminently. We'll have a number of different campaigns that we will be running up to the lead up into winter and sort of those Christmas months as well. I think for us, we feel like there's opportunities around virtual auctions and various bits. So there's a lot that we're considering at the moment and trying to do things differently. Our Industry Leader Challenge was due to take place in October. We're still doing that. So we're climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, Matt and myself included, and
wow.
our chief exec as well at Ben Zara. So Zara is doing it with 5 other industry leaders. We're still looking for more industry leaders to sign up and come and join us with the climb. So that's now been pushed back to January time. But we're trying to pursue all the things that we had planned, but having to be quite versatile with how and when.
Yeah. But there is, it's fair to say that in times of great national distress and concerns and worries, people do come together, and they also have a little bit more time to think about charities and doing charitable events. I mean, I don't want to sort of sound a little bit sort of cliched here, but during lockdown and during coronavirus, the number of people doing charitable endeavours has really rocketed. I mean, there's the obvious example of Captain Tom, isn't there? But there's hundreds and hundreds of people in the country who are trying to do a little bit just to raise money, whether that's for the NHS or for a charity. People, at times like this, people do actually stop and they do think about the wider picture and how they can support others. So at times like this, you're sort of, Ben may be in people's minds a little bit more.
Yeah, I actually, I really think that's a very poignant point, because we've had people reach out to us during this time and being quite creative and saying, we're doing this and we'd like to contribute the funds to Ben. So it's not all doom and gloom for us. We have had people come to us during sort of lockdown where they have had a bit more spare time and have thought quite creatively. But I think you're right. There's this kind of community thing. It's about everybody playing their part. So it doesn't have to be people donating or supporting huge volumes of money, but if everybody's playing a part and contributing a small amount, that will make such an incredible difference to us. And of course, I think the other thing is that people have been potentially a bit more active with exercise during this time, because when the restrictions were put upon us, I think a lot of people were like, well, if I can only go out once a day, then that's what I'm going to do. So I think people potentially might be more geared up, ready to do some of the individual events for Ben. And we know that the industries they're a bit more doing rather and sort of playing. And again, there's some further fundraising projects that hopefully will come down the line for us. We're thinking about introducing a lottery. So what we want to do is, I suppose, diversify our range of options for people to be able to do fundraising with and for us as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I actually put on weight during lockdown. But even with my, one form of exercise every single day. But anyway, that's an entirely different story. One thing we touched upon earlier was mental health, and that has been something that has, and rightly so, has had a lot of coverage recently. There's been a lot of focus on that. Like you were saying about the automotive industry being very male dominated, men traditionally are very reluctant to open up about things like that. Have you seen an increase in terms of your helpline calls or people contact you just wanting to discuss mental health?
Oh, absolutely. So, the number, I think a good gauge of that is in the last 12 months, we've seen about 114% increase in mental health assessments that we've been delivering. So that alone speaks volumes. So we ordinarily people would come through helpline, come into our support service, and if they are requesting support for mental health, then we would ordinarily, they'd have some form of an assessment. So that number of assessments that we've been delivering alone, is real testament to that sentiment that, in fact, it's probably our largest reason why people reach out to us, which is fundamentally one of the reasons why we introduced Silver Cloud, our digital platform, because it's primarily a mental health support platform. And it means that we will, in a very cost-effective way, be able to support more people with issues such as depression and anxiety through evidence-based programs, essentially. So, yeah, we've been trying to respond in a really agile way to that in the last 12 months.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about that, actually. So we've mentioned it a couple of times now, but for people who aren't aware of it, what is Silver Cloud and how do you use it?
Yeah, so we work in partnership with Silver Cloud, and we have a Ben dedicated landing page. And essentially, it is computerized cognitive behavioral therapy. So CBT, in short, is an evidence-based form of treatment, really recognised for the support of sort of more low to moderate anxiety and depression, which, if you think about that figure of 1 in 4 of us will experience a mental health issue at any given time, it is highly likely to be something like anxiety or depression. So it's a really relevant platform. We have a number of different programs available, for managing depression, anxiety, but actually also more topic-based issues such as sleeping difficulties, money worries, well-being, resilience, managing stress. And we were working with Silver Cloud as well to add to a program specifically related to COVID-19, so managing and adapting through a period of adversity, as well as keeping physically and mentally fit. So those are the programs that we have, and we also have access to a set of mindfulness activities that people can get support from through the platform too. I mean, we only launched it in March, and we're about to embark upon some fast track access to Silver Cloud. So I think we're going to see a really great way of us reaching more people, but B, some really effective results from Silver Cloud as well.
Yeah. And again, it's an issue that has had a lot of attention lavished upon it recently, because of course many people within the car industry are slowly going back to work after being off work for many months. They've had to stay indoors. They've had worries about their jobs. Of course, that doesn't apply to everybody. So there's still a lot of people who are very concerned about the future. That idea of well-being, mental well-being, is very important, because of course in the past, again, a typical sort of manly character trait is I shouldn't be worrying about things like that, it's something that you just have to pull yourself together and not concentrate on. Again, this is opening up, this crisis that we've been going through has opened up key issues within our society that we really need to address, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think well-being is quite a difficult topic to navigate. And we recently just produced a video and some video content on well-being for that very reason. I think it's confusing for people that they don't really understand what the definition of well-being really means, and it's understandable because it actually means something different to each and every one of us because our lives are different, and what it's very much dependent upon who we are, what we like, what we don't like, what motivates us, what drives us, what we're committed to. So this kind of whole self-awareness bit is really critical in the kind of overarching well-being piece, and getting to know yourself and what well-being means to you is absolutely the starting point. But that requires the ability to think about that yourself, but also talk about it with others. And it's a challenge, but again, I think that is the future of the support that we'll be there for in the industry at Ben, and is certainly part of my kind of vision for our overall transformation.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I mean, this is a long-term view, but it really is going to be fascinating how the automotive industry changes, particularly on the retail side. There may be fewer jobs, there may be more automated systems in place, and people may feel as though they don't actually belong in this industry anymore. And having a charity such as yourselves that's there, and they're able to contact and have some help and some guidance is going to become increasingly more important, isn't it?
Agreed. And interestingly, behind the scenes at the moment, we're working very hard on developing some further products to support people that are exactly in that situation. So they may find themselves in a situation where they're at risk of redundancy, or, like you said, might not feel like it's the right fit or it's as suitable for them. And that for us, that doesn't matter because we can still support them. And we are looking at adding more content, tips, advice, and tools onto our website around health, work, and well-being. We're also looking at providing employability support for people where we can help them to build a CV, look at their personal strengths, their transferable skills, their interview skills, and job-seeking activities. So, there's a whole host of things that we feel really well placed to be able to support the industry and its people with in this space.
Yeah. Lastly, Rachel, if anybody's listening to this and it's sort of pressed a button in their heads to say, right, I need to actually talk to somebody, I need to have a bit of help and some guidance on something, what's the best way that people can contact you?
Yeah, of course. So clearly, if you go into Google and you write Ben Automotive, we will be there, probably top of the list. You'd like to think so anyway. So I think our website is a great place to start. So www.ben.org.uk. And all the details for our helpline are there, and our helpline is open between the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Fridays. We have web chat that is available also on our website. And yeah, I mean, I think ultimately the website encapsulates an awful lot of what we do, what we support, and there's some really great content as well that's available for people, and that for a large proportion of people that come to us, it is enough just to give them, some sort of at the point of access support and tools immediately. So yeah, the website is the place to go.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much, Rachel. It's been a pleasure having you on. It's been fascinating finding out a little bit more about what's been going on, and I do wish you the best of luck throughout the rest of the year and into the future.
Thank you very much, James. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You're welcome. Now, if you're interested in coming on to Car Dealer Live and having a nice little chat like we've just had, then please do email me, james.batchelor@blackbournemedia.co.uk, or you can email James Baggett. He's available at james@blackbournemedia.co.uk. On Friday, we'll be speaking with Stephen Corwood from Motor Connect. And the only other thing to say is if you want some breaking news sent to your mobile phone, we set up Car Dealer Magazine WhatsApp groups where the latest news is sent to your phone. Get in contact with us if you want the link to those groups. And again, thanks again to Rachel, and thanks to you for joining in. So until Friday, thanks very much indeed, and bye-bye.